won't get results. Wow, that's heavy, but it's idiotically simple. But you'd be surprised how many people keep treating the wrong problem for years without any results. So you have to be willing to try something new and realize what you're doing is not working, especially with shoulder pain. So I'm going to show you the best position to sleep with your shoulder because I've been through a lot of shoulder pain for years. In fact, I fractured my left shoulder, I fractured my left elbow, and I had to cope with that trying to sleep. So I'm going to show you the best position, but I want to let you know something. About 80% of shoulder pain is not coming from the shoulder. It's being referred. And the only reason I figured it out is being in practice for about 30 years, taking money from people that came in to get help with their shoulder pain, and then finding out it didn't work. So I had to do everything possible to try different things, to think outside the box. And I'm going to show you some really great tips based on years of trial and error. Most shoulder pain, even if it's on the left side, mostly on the right side, and I'm talking about right up through here, it can be actually through here, it can be in your neck, is coming from not necessarily gallbladder, it's the tube, or it's called a duct, between the gallbladder and your liver. This little tube is called the bile duct, and that duct very commonly becomes plugged up with sludge here, mostly on the right side. And I'm talking about right up through here, it can be actually through here, it can be in your neck, is coming from not necessarily the gallbladder, it's the tube, or it's called a duct, between the gallbladder and your liver. This little tube is called the bile duct, and that duct very commonly becomes plugged up with sludge, maybe with very, very tiny little stones, but usually not. It's usually like a thick sludge. And that pressure backs up into the liver, and it backs up into the diaphragm and causes pressure into something called the Phrenic nerve. And the Phrenic nerve goes right up into your neck, right through here. And when that nerve is irritated, it causes a spasm in your shoulder, and it can even cause the vertebra to rotate and pinch the nerve right into your shoulder. And it can also happen on the left side too, because the duct also communicates to the pancreas too. So if there's backup in that duct that goes into the pancreas, it can also affect the left side of the diaphragm, where there's also a Phrenic nerve that comes up on this side. So if you don't know that, and you're trying to fix your shoulder, and you're doing therapy, and you're doing exercise, and you're wondering why it's not getting better, guess what? It's coming from your diet. And so if you're not familiar with keto or intermittent fasting, you definitely need to get on that immediately to help reduce the pressure on the digestion. Because a high-carb diet, refined carbs, foods high in omega-6 fatty acids, that would be a lot of nuts, that would be a lot of fried foods. Those foods will really irritate that little duct and cause shoulder pain all day long. And so one little way to know if your problem is that duct is just to gently massage underneath the right rib cage or the left rib cage, about an inch off the midline. Just massage that area and see if your shoulder pain doesn't completely disappear, at least temporarily. If it does, chances are your problem is being referred by your digestive system. So I just want to bring that up as the first thing I want to talk about, since it's so common and hardly anyone knows about it, and it's such an easy problem to fix. You're going to probably need some purified bile salts or a gallbladder formula. I put a link down below for more information on that. But that will start to thin the bile, allow the flow of bile through that duct, and eliminate the pain in the shoulder, which I have a lot of experience with because I had shoulder pain for about 12 years before I figured it out. The gallbladder-related problem will cause tension in the trap up through here, either side, around the back part where your rhomboid muscles are, or underneath the trapezius muscle. Addressing a muscle is called the Levator anguli scapula because it levers the scapula at a certain angle. And apparently it will make that muscle so hard, like a knot, and you'll be massaging that thing to the cows come home. It's never going to be relieved, Because the problem is down here between your gallbladder and your liver. All right, so now let's say the problem is in your shoulder. Okay, you have arthritis in your AC joint or somewhere else in your shoulder joint. There is a video that I did on shoulder pain, which is very, very powerful as far as the best exercise to do for shoulder pain. And it's simple hanging, okay? An orthopedic surgeon wrote an amazing book on this one exercise. And he claimed that over 80 to 90% of surgeries were unnecessary. And if you did this exercise, you can avoid the surgery. And I do it on a regular basis. It works. And so you're just going to find some pull-up bar. Initially, you don't have to have your whole body hanging. You just need to stretch your arm, either one at a time or both. And you can just be standing, but you want to stretch this muscle down here. This is called the Latissimus Dorsi, okay? You want to stretch the lat. Doing that is going to send information up to the top part of the muscles to relax the trapped muscles. It's also going to open up the shoulder joint enough to allow a lot of relief into your shoulders. So if you were to hang, let's say after dinner or before bed, for 15 seconds, whether it's weight-bearing or not weight-bearing, it's going to give your shoulder a lot of relief and you're going to be able to sleep a lot better. But you want to work up to a situation where you can hang with your whole body weight hanging, okay, with your hands forward on a bar for about 15 to 30 seconds, okay? You want to work up to that and then do maybe 3 sets of that, about 3 times a week. If you can achieve that, your shoulders are going to be in really good shape. And the other point I want to bring up is inflammation in general. If you have arthritis or inflammation in your shoulder joints especially, if you just reflect back on what you ate yesterday, chances are there's something that you ate that's causing the inflammation. It could be dairy. It could be some new keto ice cream that you bought because it was keto friendly, but it had all sorts of ingredients that created inflammation. Or it could be maybe you ate nuts the day before and all those nuts are high in omega fatty acids and that created the inflammation. It could have been some carbohydrate that you ate, but usually there's something you ate the day before that you probably shouldn't have eaten. But very importantly, reducing omega-6 fatty acids and increasing the omega-3 fatty acids from fish oils or olive oil is going to be essential. One of the best natural remedies for inflammation in general that I found is called stinging nettle root. It's a really good remedy for inflammation if you just have arthritis in general and you've already addressed the diet. And of course, the combination of keto and intermittent fasting is going to be essential. If you're new to my channel, I put a link down below. That'll probably get rid of your shoulder pain right away because it's going to drop inflammation, especially the intermittent fasting, because fasting drops inflammation. And the most powerful vitamin that can help you with inflammation is vitamin D3. If you get the combination of D3 with vitamin K2, you're going to have a really good combination because vitamin K2 makes the calcium buildup from your arteries and your joints and it puts it back into the bone. So it helps to remove calcium that shouldn't be in certain places. And the vitamin D3 drops inflammation dramatically, so you're going to actually feel a lot better. You take at least 20,000 IUs of vitamin D3 with the ratio of about 20 micrograms of K2. So for every 10,000 IUs of D3, you need 100 micrograms of K2. That would be the ratio that you want to look at. And if you have shoulder pain when you're sleeping, just take this vitamin D3 K2 blend right before bed because it will also help you sleep. And I have some information on that in the description down below. All right, now let's get to the position of how not to sleep, okay? So if you're going to sleep on your side with all your pressure on your shoulder joint itself, that's going to be very uncomfortable because there's too much pressure and weight on your shoulder. So what you want to do is not sleep directly on the shoulder. You want to tuck the shoulder in about 2 inches forward. So that's tip number 1. Now at the same time, you want to make sure that your head is neutral with your spine. You don't want your head too far down, too far up. So you're going to have to adjust the pillow. Another thing that I recommend is taking a very small towel or even a washcloth and rolling it up and putting it beneath your neck so that way it supports and takes some pressure off the shoulder if the shoulder is painful, as well as rolling up a small towel or a washcloth and putting it underneath the rib cage. Okay, so right about here. So now we can actually raise the position below and above the shoulder, so there's virtually no pressure on the shoulder itself. And it's also important as you're sleeping not to have your head too forward or too backwards, but to have it completely neutral on the pillow. It's definitely worth it to spend some money and buy a high quality pillow. And it's really an individual choice. So what I do is I might go to a store and I will just sample out a lot of different pillows until I find the one that is perfect. And I'm not even going to look at the price tag because, I mean, think about this. You spend a third of your life in bed. So it's definitely worth it to get the right pillow. Some people like it firm, some people like it thick, and it's good for your spouse, might not be good for you. So invest in the best pillow you can find. Now, what about sleeping in your stomach? Why? Well, just go ahead and turn your head to the right side right now. Just go ahead and turn your head and then hold that position for 8 hours. Okay? That's what happens when you sleep. Now you're going to probably go to the left side, the right side, but when you cannot sleep with your face in the pillow. You have to turn your neck, and holding your neck into that position is going to cut off the nerve supply.
Можно легко сделать сливание, да,
И собаку завести,
завести с вонючей мордой какой-нибудь.
You don't want to sleep on your stomach, okay? Or even if with your
Это
arms up like this,
идеальный.
because you're going to obstruct the nerves in your shoulder, and they go right down the arm. All right, the other position that I don't recommend is sleeping on your back on a pillow or without a pillow with your hands underneath your head. You have to turn your neck, and holding your neck into that position is going to cut off the nerve supply to your brachial plexus nerves, and guess where those nerves go? They go into the shoulder. Not good. So you don't want to sleep on your stomach, okay? Or even if with your arms up like this, because you're going to obstruct the nerves in your shoulder, and they go right down the arm. All right, and the other position that I don't recommend is sleeping on your back on a pillow or without a pillow with your hands underneath your head. Not a good position because, again, it's going to pinch off the nerves through your neck that go right into your shoulder. Not a good idea. The absolute best position is on your side with a pillow which brings your head up to a nice neutral position. So with your head not too forward, not too back, with your shoulders slightly tucked forward about 2 inches, maybe with another rolled towel underneath your neck or a washcloth, and underneath your shoulder, right on the rib cage. So you're positioning your shoulder with the least amount of pressure on it. I also recommend a pillow between your knees, so your lower back and hips are not a problem. And of course, then you want to, through the night, position yourself maybe on the other shoulder, back and forth. Now, if you have not seen my video on how the gallbladder can refer pain to the shoulder, since it's so common, I have a video right here. Check it out.
И в Восточный довезут. Конечно, довезут. 15 минут, и самокат ушел.
А что такого вкусного-то здесь? Кстати, да.
Зритель жаждет второй сезон.
Девушки с Макаровым. Новый сезон.
Ну что, покаетесь, грешница?
Наверное, нет.
Hey, it's me again. In this video, we're going to continue with the amazing gallbladder part 2. Now, part 1, we talked about function of the gallbladder, which basically is to help release bile to help break down fats. Okay? Bile, B-I-L-E, is a good thing. It's not waste. It's a good thing to help extract nutrients. Bile to help break down fats. Okay? And bile, B-I-L-E, is a good thing. It's not waste. It's a good thing to help extract nutrients from the food that you're eating. Now, if there's a lack of bile, or if there's congestion in the gallbladder because of lack of bile, yes, you can get pain around your midsection over the gallbladder, but you can also get something called referred pain. What does that mean? Well, there's a nerve that goes from the top of the gallbladder or the diaphragm there all the way up to the right side into your neck, and that's called the Phrenic nerve.
Да я
So
просто так
it's
вот
a
сделал. Да.
hidden
40 рублей
referred
стоит.
pain because a lot of times you think you have pain in
300
the
грамм,
right shoulder
350,
here,
360.
but really it's coming from down here. So the typical pain that will happen is right on the right upper shoulder, right through here. And there's a muscle right here, and it attaches to this bone right here called the scapula into the neck. So this little muscle called the Levator scapula muscle, that muscle gets really tight and ropey, and a lot of people massage that thing all the time, but it never releases because the problem is in the gallbladder. And so the neck, it's right on the right upper shoulder, right through here. And there's a muscle right here, and it attaches to this bone right here called the scapula into the neck. So this little muscle called the Levator scapula muscle, that muscle gets really tight and ropey, and a lot of people massage that thing
Ну вот это
all the time, but it never releases because the problem
Э?
is in the
Кто-то стучит? Ну, наоборот.
gallbladder. And so when you step on a dog's tail,
Проверить. Заказывай. Да, мужчина.
tail, he barks through his
Ну, надо.
What? mouth. Very good. That's my analogy. So what happens? What? Mouth. Very good. That's my analogy. So what happens is that you'll get pain right through here. It can refer up into the neck. It can go into the right side of the jaw. It can cause headaches. It can go on the shoulder itself. It can go right around this scapula through here. But anything here is all gallbladder and liver because it's backing up through this liver. There's not enough space so it can put pressure on that area. If that happens and the person sleeps on their left side, because this liver is a little bit enlarged, it can compress the heart a little bit and you'll feel uncomfortable. So the best way to sleep with this problem is on the right side, not on the left side. Now, when this nerve gets aggravated and it pinches like the third bone right here, that's where it goes to, it can cause a little rotation of those vertebrae and the need to go to a chiropractor over and over and over and over again. So when it pinches that nerve, it can even cause pain all the way down the right side. So I'll see people that come in with splints on the finger and pain on the hand or the wrist or the arm, and they think the problem is in the hand, yet there's no injury. Well, I already know it's something right here. So a little bit of, let's turn this around here. If you were to press on the gallbladder very gently, and if you notice relief right here, then we know it's the digestive system, it's the gallbladder. So what do? Do we take the gallbladder out? No. Okay, no, we actually start eating healthy. So the best food for the gallbladder would be a healthy diet, like a lot of greens, a lot of vegetable, some fat. You don't want to have no fat, low fat, because that's going to be a problem. Because you need some fat to release it. So, but a lot of salads and vegetables and things like that. That's what you eat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to explain in part 2 this concept of referred pain and how common this condition is, yet very few people know about it. So I'm increasing your awareness on the gallbladder. So I will see you in the third part.
Привет! Мы в ХХРУ уже больше 20 лет создаем будущее, которое складывается из десятков миллионов важных историй успешного труда.
Gallbladder. Ну, наоборот, ну, у меня тоже это, да, наследственно. Холестерол. Но не важно, да, наоборот. Да, бесишь ты меня, бесишь, что Что такое гал? Француз? Да. Ну, в принципе, да. Понятно. История отношений, политик, буржуа. Понятно. Ладно. Вот, ну, да.
Hey guys, it's me again. We're going to do another before and after. Now we have someone with wrist pain. Your right wrist bothers you. So tell me just a little bit about what's going on with your wrist.
So I've had tendonitis for several years, and it's, you know, I need to do yoga to keep my back in check, and that helps, but it's hard with the wrist. So it doesn't go back all the way, and I can't put pressure on it, so I can't do the planks and the push-ups and that kind of position and the downward dog, all of that. It just makes it really difficult. I can just do it for a much shorter amount of time and hold it, and then the pain comes in. Also chopping vegetables and using my hands, it just gets really tight and sore, and you know, I can't vacuum because that's sort of in and out. It's like too much, but it's just in this right wrist here. And I've done a lot. I've done physical therapy, even went as far maybe I think 10 years ago to do radiation, and I do these stretches that help, but it doesn't go away. So anytime I'm like doing, you know, the type of thing that I want to be doing, which is like exercising on the floor, push-ups, that type of thing, yoga, it flares.
Okay, so what we know for sure is that there has to be something else going on with this. There has to be something else going on. So we're going to go a little deeper. And so I have a question. Do you have digestive problems?
Yes, I do have a history of that. I'm on it with diet, but I know that there's still some lingering issues. I'm really in control with diet and probiotics, but there are still some lingering issues. So definitely, yes.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do it before, because it doesn't really hurt when she doesn't move it. It's like when she moves it or activates it. So go ahead and try to like do like a little push-up or resistance and tell me if you feel something.
Yeah, so I mean, if I put my weight on it, I'll definitely just like a push-up position. So you can see it won't go as far as this hand in terms of the angle, and then it just begins to feel like it's going to give way.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weakness.
Yes.
Okay.
Very
So unstable weakness.
unstable, weak, and yeah, unstable, weak, and very tender and painful. Yeah.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to rate that. 10 being fully strong, 0 being completely weak. Give me a number.
I would say 6.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to isolate it. Now, the first thing I'm going to check before I do anything is the gallbladder. Why? Because the gallbladder is a source of a lot of problems. It creates a nerve that goes up to the nerves of the neck, which happen to connect to the hand. I've had people come in with splints on the hand, the thumb, the fingers, and they're like, oh, what's wrong? They get therapy, nothing happens. So let's just see if the gallbladder is involved. I'm going to do a little tiny little test. So I'm going to have you lay on your back with head over here.
So if you've watched some of my other videos, you probably see that there's a lot of hidden pain syndromes from gallbladder. So I'm just going to kind of gently kind of stimulate the flow of the gallbladder so it can drain a little bit. And tell me if is that sore?
A little bit.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, again, I'm not pressing on the gallbladder, the soft tissue around the gallbladder, which is connected to the gallbladder. And you can even do this yourself. You work on this little area right here. You find out where the tenderness is. Yeah, right there. Good morning. And I'm just going to hold this for about an hour. No, it's good.
Ну вот наоборот, нет.
I'm doing this for about 2
Ну,
minutes
всех,
here.
всех так
And
удалили,
pressing
кому
up into
вообще
this
просто
area right here.
понимает, он типа рассуждает.
So the next thing we're going to do is just
Удалил, нет,
compare.
там
So now let's have her sit up. Let's
злоба
sit
просто
right
там
here.
меня
And then
всё,
go ahead and
злоба и всё.
do the same thing you did before. And let's just compare.
Всё.
6 times 1.
Может, я из этого такой? Ну, не знаю. Ну, то есть, наоборот, потому что такого быть не может. Это из-за характера у тебя такой, что-то у тебя есть характер, из-за чего у тебя воспаляется что-то там, понимаешь? То есть, не наоборот. То есть, когда, понимаешь, да, вот я просто понял. Дело его мне не касается. В стиле жизни, в мировоззрении, возможно, даже, восприятие, может какой-то шок, стресс, но и чё, собака умерла, потому что у нее был стресс, кто ее простил, не простил, и что дальше, то есть, в действительности, да, то есть, Бог никого не прощает на самом деле, если он есть, то есть, в действительности никого не простит, если ты больной, ты что-то у тебя там шок, там, петарду тебя взорвали в детстве, и ты такой дергаешься, значит, тебе надо найти какой-то ключик, и ты такой, я беспомощный, и никто тебе помочь не может, специалисты только тебе все ампутируют там, да, понимаешь, у тебя, да, а всего лишь тебе надо с собой поработать, своим сознанием, больше никакого исхода нет. Очень дорогие специалисты, очень хорошие, да, понимаю, психологи очень тонкие, да, так скажем, но они редко встречаются и дорого стоят, да, понимаешь. Как правило. И их надо заслужить, наверное, еще, может так. Ну да, это типа, да, наверное. Ну не знаю, меня не волнует это. Я просто так вообще в целом говорю. Что все равно, и если тебе очень надо будет, ты все равно к себе вернешься, когда тебе все поампутируют уже, ты все равно, блин, уже лежишь, у тебя уже одна такая болезнь осталась. И лежать, и болеть. И ты, да, вернулся в храм Будды, да, или что угодно, да. Для осознания, да. Ну и тебе тоже это не понравилось, да. Ну что даже надо. Вспоминать надо, работать. Наверное. Ну, да, отвлекаться надо, да, надо отвлечь себя. Наверное, и кстати, да. Телевизоры смотреть надо, да. И так далее. Да. Ну, скажи, что я подтвердил просто. Ничего страшного, постепенно. Так нет, это, ну и чё, ну такой, и чё, просто что-то воспалить, ты не контролируешь свой шею, вот и все, да. Ну вот это, ну, от этого даже деваться некуда, ну вот у тебя такая черта характера, которая уже натренирована, то есть, а что в ней хорошего, а почему, откуда даже не с пустого места тоже взялась, понимаешь, да. Просто пользоваться правильно надо уметь, наверное, да, и... Ну, то есть не гипер чего-то, может даже водой горят отравиться, ты пьешь чистую воду и выпьешь литров 10 и умрешь просто нахер. Да. Чистейший какой-нибудь. Ну не знаю, да. Типа того же, да. Наверное, да. Ну агрессия это, ну лучше не попадать в такие ситуации, наверное, да. Ну типа этого, в познании, да. Ну да. Ну, наверное, да. Наверное, с прошлым работать, да, женщина, наверное, так. Да, понимаю. Ну, наоборот, да. А что, женщина, да, понимаете. Ладно, кстати. Ну, значит, я женщина нужна жена агрессивная, да. Ну, тебе так, ну нет. Ну да, он имел в виду, да. Ну наоборот, это... Ну вот наоборот. Ну она, понимаете, так это значит не женское здоровье, это женское мужеподобие. Это женское, да, понимаю. Да, то, что ты имеешь в виду, да.
Yeah, it definitely does feel strong, but the pain is still there. But it's definitely like I feel a little bit of pain in
Ну
the
да,
wrist,
видишь,
but
разница понятий просто.
it's definitely
Женская
it feels,
нормальность это не
a little bit more
агрессия,
stable
да.
and a little
Понять,
bit more
наверное, да.
like it's bending.
Ну, значит нет, значит женское здоровье это агрессивность, да.
Yeah, because it doesn't usually go as far as this one, so it does. Wow, yeah.
Cool. Now let's have you lay back again. I'm
Ну
going to
какая
just check
нахер
something.
разница, это все лишь словеса. То есть, ну, понимаете, просто, да.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to
Да,
come in
нормально
a little
просто.
bit more
Да.
into the liver area right through
Наоборот,
here.
да.
Now, she did tell me, she did kind of go off her eating for a little bit. And there's some insulin resistance, so there's a little bit of a blood sugar thing. What I'm going to advise, and I'm going to show you,
Мужа не было.
one of the challenges when you do the eating plan is you add more fat, which is hard to digest if there's the gallbladder issue. So, I'm going to recommend as a simple no-brainer is apple cider vinegar plus. Are you taking that?
No.
That is an acidifier for your stomach that will release your own bile. So when she takes it before a meal, like 4 before a meal, the stomach will release bile, it'll digest so much better, it'll take pressure off this gallbladder, and it'll make it easier to stick to the program, and improves insulin resistance, and it'll help the gallbladder, and I think that pain thing will go away. Especially if it's related to the digestion. So we talked before this, and we were like, okay, how do we completely fix this? Well, once we find what's causing it, by what we're doing now, we're testing something, see what gets a fast change, and then we're going to focus on the gallbladder, improving the digestion. That's what we want to do. Like keep your diet, and keep these other things. Yeah, and then really help the digestion, and that's going to fully resolve this issue with the hand, because like it affects your writing, you're a teacher, and this whole thing. So let me come a little lower. Yeah. So now we're right on the heart of it, right through in there.
Is it like gallstones, or what is it?
No, I think she has this gallstones. I think it's just a sluggish gallbladder, and there's a little duct there that you drain stuff out. That's a little congested, and that comes from eating poorly sometimes in your past. Do you have a history of eating poorly?
Yeah, I changed my diet about 7 years ago.
Or before that?
Before that, it was very high carb, very high crackers, and white rice.
High
and
carb,
pasta.
crackers, pasta. Joined the club. I was there for 20 years. I know what you're talking about. So now let's just recheck it. Okay, go ahead. You got the same thing?
Yeah, it feels very similar to this one, to the left one, and it still feels a little bit of pain, but it definitely does feel more stable and less weak and less and more able to bend 90 degrees, which I've never been able to bend 90 degrees. So, but it does. I still feel a little bit of pain. It's not as easy to do it as this one, but it's definitely. I'm just feeling more stable in it, which is weird. I usually feel like it's going to give way.
Awesome. So sit right here. So the other thing you do for wrist pain is you work on the opposite side. So we'll take this side, and we'll just go into the muscle through here. And we press on if it hurts on the wrist, like it hurts right here, then you work on the muscles connected to the wrist, but on the opposite side, right through in here. And this will be a little bit sore as you work this out, but that's how you kind of get rid of that pain component, because it's been compensating. You probably support this side and you put more pressure on this side as you work out.
Right. Absolutely.
Like right here, this thing.
And I have these weird bumps that they look like all over my hands, and my arms, until my elbow.
Да, надо искать.
So let's look at those bumps in a second. I'm going to just I want to just.
Sucker,
Okay,
плакер.
so now go ahead and just retest the same thing. Let me tell me what's happening with the pain.
The pain is still there. It's a little bit less, but again, feeling stable, feeling, yeah. I mean, because I've never been able to bend it 90 degrees, so it feels like it's doing it, and it feels stable. But there's a little bit of pain, not much, but there's definitely pain here and here. Here maybe because it's stretching farther than it's been stretched in a very long time, so that's the pain here. But the pain that's there is it's less. It's still there, but it's definitely less, and it feels more stable.
Awesome. So this is because it's coming from the digestion. We just have to work more on the digestion because this is the symptom and this is the cause. So it's just a matter of getting this. Once this is better, the pain will probably completely go away. Probably have to work a little bit on here, but your problem is not in your wrist. And that's why the physical therapy did not work, because they put radiation in your wrist. Okay, now, so that's cool. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now show me those bumps.
Okay, so you don't have to see it. It's a little blue, but you can feel it.
Yeah.
Do you feel how it's
Yeah.
moving? And I have them on my elbows, and nobody has been able to tell me what they want to have a biopsy, and I was a little bit scared to do that, but so I have that, and I have them all up. You can see my but I have them here.
So here's the thing. These are like little tiny, they're kind of like little tiny little bumps type things are growing on the skin. Anything with skin is related to vitamin A deficiencies. And guess what it takes to digest vitamin A? Bile.
Bile, yeah.
So
I
bile.
have spectrum cell actually, and I was, and every year I've been doing it for the past 3 years, and I was just this last year when I did it a month ago. They said that they're borderline A deficient, which was the first time because all the fat soluble vitamins before were good, the D, K, A, but this time it was vitamin. Actually, D was borderline, A was borderline.
Ding, 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 ding. So yeah, so skin is all about the fat soluble vitamins, and you always look to her the gallbladder that's digesting them, so she doesn't have enough bile. So with you, probably some apple cider vinegar plus before the meal, and maybe one gallbladder after to get the fat soluble vitamins in there, and the skin will be really nice. So vitamin A deficiency is great. Acne, bumps, little goose pimple bumps, anything with skin is vitamin A. But most people get enough from the diet, they just can't absorb it. And guess what? All the remedies for the anti-inflammatory remedies are the omega-3 fatty acids. They're all fat related. So even vitamin D deficiency will cause pain. So again, it's a matter of that digestive system, getting that thing back. That's why a lot of arthritic type stuff and pain in general is liver, and it's connected to the gallbladder. So this is what we'll do. We're going to strengthen the gallbladder. You probably do a little bit of acupressure each day. This will totally be cleared. Probably take maybe 2 weeks at the very most. And I think you can, and then you just have to keep your eating in. Just keep really standard. And then if you tend to want to cheat, have some healthy junk food without the sugar. But I think you're going to have to add a little more fat with the meals, which the gallbladder will help to allow you to go longer without eating, and because you cannot fix insulin resistance without fat. So but the problem is it might be hard to digest. So don't go crazy, just a little bit, and then gradually increase that. You'll go longer without eating. You drop insulin, you'll heal the insulin resistance. Digestion will do better. So does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Okay.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Piano TV. I am Alicia, your host, and today I'm in a different location than I was before. So I'm just kind of jumping around the room, trying different areas of the room, see what nocturne in C sharp minor, posthumous B49. So what that just means is it's a nocturne that was published when he was dead. We're going to listen through some musical examples. I'll talk about things that I find interesting about the piece.
Вот она постхумус, что?
Posthumous B49. So what that just means is it's a nocturne that was published when he was dead. We're going to listen through some musical examples. I'll talk about things that I find interesting about the piece without getting too music jargony on you. So if you're not like hip with all the music terms, you should still be able to follow this video. I mean, I think so, but sometimes I can get music jargony without even realizing it, but I'll do my best. Chopin wrote 21 nocturnes in his lifetime between 1827 and 1846. To this day, his nocturnes are considered some of the finest of all piano music that exists of all time. We've also talked about another nocturne on this channel before. His most famous one was number 2, I believe. So check that out if you enjoyed this video and if you want to get more into Chopin's nocturnes. But without further ado, let's get started.
Ну, наверное, eVGENIY.
Chopin's Nocturne in C sharp minor is a short piece. It's 3.5-ish minutes long, which I guess by today's pop standards is fairly average, but back in the classical and romantic heyday, pieces tended to be quite a bit bigger, so this is considered a musical short. This particular nocturne was written in 1830, but it wasn't published until 1870, which was 26 years after Chopin's death. Now, it's sometimes referred to by its tempo marking, which is lento con grande espressione, or just nocturne in C sharp minor, because I don't know if he actually has any other C sharp minor nocturnes, but if he does, this one's more well known. He dedicated this piece
А
to
как
his
ты будешь
sister
обычную жизнь есть и жить фрукты на
Ludwika, saying, "To my sister Ludwika, as an exercise before beginning the study of my second concerto." Good con Chopin's part to make an exercise for that concerto because it is extremely difficult, like all concertos, I guess. As far as the challenges goes in the level, this nocturne is one of Chopin's most accessible pieces. It's not his easiest. There are a few preludes and things that are easier than this one, but it's about an RCM grade 9 level, and I believe it's an ABRSM grade 7 piece. Henley puts it at 5, which is slightly above intermediate by Henley standards, but I find that Henley standards, which go from 1 to 9, are quite hard. Like pieces at a grade, like a level 5 and 6 in Henley are like pretty tough pieces. We'll talk about this as we go too, but one of the big challenges of this piece is keeping the introduction with the chords really, really tight without sounding clunky and heavy, and having those left-hand runs and chord patterns sound effortless. One reason that many people are familiar with this nocturne, and you might have heard it from this too, is that it's in the movie The Pianist twice, at the beginning and at the end, both incomplete. And it's not in that movie just for fun. It was actually, there's actually like a Holocaust story about it. The Holocaust survivor Natalia Karp played this piece famously played this piece for a Nazi concentration camp officer, and he was moved enough by the performance to spare her life. This nocturne is written in common time, but it features a lot of Chopin-esque tempo benders, like expressive triplets and like little trills, like you'll see here's a triplet over here, and just other features like that. Nocturnes in general are really expressive and melodically driven, and they usually have a bit more of like a moody, I'm trying to think of another word aside from moody character, but yeah, they're usually a little bit more introspective. The form here is in form, which is just 3-part form, ABA. It's really simple and straightforward. It basically just means that there's a main part, A, a contrasting section, B, and then a return to the main part. The introduction to this nocturne is just 4 bars long. And it feels really formal and final compared to the rest of the piece. It's all chords played with light and specific pedal. Now the chords sound really resolute and pretty sad. They take a little bit of care to play in a way where everything sounds simultaneously, so you get all the notes of the chord pressing at the same time without sounding heavy-handed. Now we basically have 2 identical phrases, so you have 2 bars and then another 2 bars, and they're the same, with the second one serving as like an echo, which you would play even more quietly. And again, pianistically, this intro is a lot tougher than it appears. When you're switching chords, you need to keep the top note of the chord smoothly moving to the next notes, which is easy if you're just doing like one melody line, but it's difficult when your melody is embedded with chords. And then since it's so quiet, it takes work to make sure you're pressing down all the notes of the chord and they're all sounding simultaneously. It's very, very difficult. One thing want to do with this is rely on the pedal to create a smooth sounding melody, but you're not going to be one of those, not going to make that rookie mistake, right, if you're learning this piece? Anyway, after the intro, we have a beautiful melody that enters. There's no more trace of solid chords, so let's take a quick listen. The intro is much shorter than the time I've taken to talk about it. The main theme of this piece, which occurs twice, the second time after a brief little intermission in like our B section, features a beautiful melody over this backdrop of broken chords. These are wide broken chords, often spanning a distance of 1/10, which is a pretty big leap. It just requires, you don't need to have giant fingers to do it, you just need to be able to have a fluid wrist that rotates nicely. The tempo marking at the beginning, I guess it's not here, but it was on the introduction, is lento con gran espressione, which means slow with great expression. I can pronounce the English better than the Italian. One thing to keep in mind if you're learning this piece is not to go wild with the rubato. Rubato is rubber band tempo, and I find it's often abused in Chopin's compositions, but Chopin himself preferred to keep the left hand, which in this case is like the orchestra, relatively steady while having more tempo flexibility in the melody, which is usually the right hand. It's no easy feat to do that. But that being said, a great effect is made when the lowest bass notes are held ever so slightly longer, like a tenuto. Just like a teeny tiny pinch. It's easy to go overboard with this. But instead of ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, sorry, I'm not trying to actually sing that. Instead of like a straight metronome with all 4 of those notes, you would have like ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. It's just a pinch longer on that low note.
Один для лица, головы и тела. Мультитриммер Philips серии 7000.
Дамы и господа, встречайте молодоженов, мистера и миссис Саймон Дойл.
Ты должна познакомиться с Эркюлем Пуаро.
Мои поздравления, мадам.
Он величайший детектив на свете.
Подозреваю, что вы не только ради веселья пригласили меня.
Верно, в нашем распоряжении на кухне лучше шеф-повар, а шампанским можно наполнить Нил.
Когда ты богат, у тебя нет настоящих друзей.
It's too late to change events. It's time to face the consequence.
Кто-то умер. Совершено убийство. И убийца кто-то из вас. Кого-то подозреваете?
Мадам привыкла получать свое. Мне здесь неспокойно. Ни с кем из них мне неспокойно.
Ну такой перс.
Почему военных никто не судит? Это не касается, потому что да, потому что цены в магазине, потому что.
Immediately following the main theme is repeats, except it's not like a direct exact repeat. The melody moves more, it's got a little bit more action, and then there's this like glorious waterfall of notes midway through that's really difficult to get sounding natural on the piano, since the rhythm is different from the left-hand rhythm. And there's also some more chord choices going on, which makes this part grow in story.
Работать надо. Ну да. Для всех, наверное, не потому, да,
Now we're going to have a look at the B section. This is the contrasting section in the piece. This is interesting. Since Chopin was writing this piece as an exercise, yes, an exercise. It's not an easy piece, but it's an exercise for his second concerto, which is much more difficult, so you can kind of see how it would be an exercise. There's a little bit of a tie-in to the second concerto, though. These two bars that I have up on the screen, I believe this one and this one, 21 and 22, resemble the main theme from the concerto, from the third movement, and I have that over here. And then the next two bars, 23 and 24, resemble the second part of the second theme. In the first movements of that concerto, I felt like that was a lot of like numbers in one sentence. Basically, the least you need to know is that there's some musical tie-ins between this nocturne and his piano concerto. There's one more tie-in too. So on bar 33, we get a resemblance to the scherzando of the third movement in that concerto. Just a little bit of like you can kind of see that triplet rhythm, ba-da-da-da-da-da, you kind of da-da-da-da-da, you get some similarities going there too. After the B section, Chopin takes us back around to the main theme, which is recognizable just with some slight variations. Now, I love how he holds